What if the greatest achievement in human history never happened? What if the iconic moment that united the world in wonder and pride was nothing more than an elaborate illusion? On July 20th, 1969, the world watched in awe as Neil Armstrong took one small step onto the lunar surface. His words, "That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind," echoed through the hearts and minds of millions. It was a moment of triumph, a testament to human ingenuity and courage. Or was it? The sight of the American flag planted firmly on the moon's surface was meant to symbolize victory and progress, but for some, it raised more questions than it answered. Even today, over 5 decades later, a persistent cloud of skepticism hangs over this momentous event. Despite the overwhelming evidence provided by NASA and countless experts, a significant number of people remain unconvinced. Some believe that the Apollo 11 moon landing was an elaborate hoax, staged to win the space race and assert American dominance over the Soviet Union. The Cold War era was a time of intense rivalry, and the stakes were incredibly high. Could this be the greatest lie of the 20th century? The idea that the moon landing was faked has been fueled by various conspiracy theories, each presenting its own set of evidence and arguments. This essay delves into the heart of the moon landing conspiracy theories, examining the evidence presented by skeptics and the counter-arguments offered by scientists. We will look at the photographs, the videos, and the testimonies that have been scrutinized for decades. We will explore the claims of a staged event, the alleged involvement of filmmaker Stanley Kubrick, and the potential motivations of NASA during the tumultuous Cold War era. Kubrick, known for his meticulous attention to detail, has been a central figure in many of these theories. Ultimately, we invite you, the reader, to weigh the evidence and decide for yourself, fact or fiction. As we journey through the arguments and counter-arguments, consider the broader implications of believing in such a conspiracy. What does it say about our trust in institutions, in science, and in each other? The moon landing remains one of the most significant achievements in human history. Whether you believe it was real or staged, its impact on our culture and our collective psyche is undeniable. Join us as we unravel the threads of this enduring mystery and seek to understand why, even after all these years, the question still lingers. Did we really land on the moon? The seeds of doubt were sown almost as soon as the Apollo 11 mission returned to Earth. As the astronauts splashed down and were hailed as heroes, a shadow of skepticism began to creep into the public consciousness. While the world celebrated, a small but vocal group began to question the authenticity of the moon landing. These skeptics, though initially few in number, were persistent and passionate in their beliefs. They gathered in small groups, discussing their doubts and sharing their theories. They pointed to inconsistencies in the photographs and television footage, whispering of government cover-ups and media manipulation. The shadows in the images, the fluttering flag, and the absence of stars in the lunar sky were all cited as evidence of a grand deception. These whispers, initially dismissed as the ramblings of fringe theorists, gradually gained traction, fueled by books, documentaries, and the burgeoning power of the internet. As the years passed, the theories evolved, becoming more elaborate and detailed. The internet in particular provided a fertile ground for these ideas to spread, connecting like-minded individuals across the globe.
One of the earliest and most vocal proponents of the moon landing hoax theory was Bill Kaysing, a former employee of Rocketdyne, a company involved in the Apollo program. Kaysing's background lent him a certain credibility, and his claims were taken seriously by many. In his 1976 book, We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 billion Swindle, Kaysing argued that the technology of the time was insufficient for a lunar landing. He detailed what he saw as insurmountable technical challenges, from the radiation of the Van Allen belts to the limitations of the spacecraft. He claimed that NASA, under pressure to fulfill President Kennedy's ambitious goal of landing a man on the moon before the end of the decade, resorted to faking the event. According to Kaysing, the moon landing was a carefully orchestrated hoax designed to bolster national pride and demonstrate American technological superiority during the Cold War. Kaysing's book sparked a wave of interest and debate. Television interviews and public discussions brought the theory into the mainstream, and many began to scrutinize the moon landing footage with a critical eye. The debate over the authenticity of the moon landing became a cultural phenomenon, with passionate arguments on both sides. In the modern era, the moon landing hoax theory has found new life on the internet. Social media platforms and online forums are rife with discussions and videos analyzing every detail of the Apollo missions. The theory has evolved, incorporating new claims and counterclaims, and continues to captivate the imaginations of many. Despite the persistence of these theories, the scientific community and space enthusiasts remain steadfast in their support of the moon landing's authenticity. NASA continues to provide evidence and explanations, celebrating the achievements of the Apollo missions and looking forward to future explorations. The whispers in the shadows of greatness, though persistent, have not dimmed the legacy of one of humanity's most remarkable accomplishments.
One of the most enduring pieces of evidence cited by moon landing skeptics is the image of the American flag seemingly waving in the breeze on the airless surface of the moon. This image has been a focal point for those who believe the moon landing was an elaborate hoax, orchestrated by NASA and the US government to win the space race against the Soviet Union during the Cold War. How could the flag flutter, they ask, if there's no wind on the moon? The moon, after all, has no atmosphere and thus no air to create wind. This question has puzzled many and has been a cornerstone of conspiracy theories for decades. This apparent anomaly has fueled countless conspiracy theories, with some even suggesting that the footage was shot on a soundstage with a large fan simulating lunar conditions. The idea of a staged moon landing has been popularized in various media, including movies and books, adding layers of intrigue and skepticism to the historic event.
The explanation for this phenomenon is, however, quite simple. It doesn't require elaborate theories or secret film sets. Instead, it involves understanding the design and setup of the flag itself. The flag was designed with a telescoping pole to give it the appearance of waving proudly. This pole was horizontal, extending from the vertical pole to which the flag was attached, creating the illusion of a flag fluttering in the wind. The ripples in the fabric are not caused by wind, but by the way the flag was unfurled from its storage container. When the astronauts set up the flag, they twisted and turned it, causing the fabric to ripple and fold in a way that mimicked the appearance of a flag waving in the wind. Furthermore, the flag remains in the same position in subsequent photographs, indicating that it's not billowing in a non-existent lunar breeze. The consistency of the flag's position across multiple images taken at different times provides clear evidence that the flag was not moving due to wind, but was simply a result of its unique design and the conditions of the lunar environment. Understanding these details helps demystify the so-called enigma of the waving flag. It serves as a reminder that sometimes the simplest explanations are the most accurate. The moon landing remains one of humanity's greatest achievements, and the waving flag is a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the astronauts and engineers who made it possible. As we continue to explore space and push the boundaries of human knowledge, it's important to remember the lessons of the past and to approach new discoveries with both curiosity and critical thinking. The waving flag on the moon is not a mystery, but a symbol of our relentless pursuit of exploration and understanding.
Section 4, Shadows of Doubt, Inconsistencies in the Lunar Light. Another point of contention for moon landing deniers is the way shadows appear in the lunar photographs.
They argue that the shadows cast by the astronauts and objects on the moon's surface are inconsistent with the sun being the only source of light. Some shadows appear to converge at different vanishing points, suggesting the presence of multiple light sources, as one might find on a film set.
Scientists explain that these perceived inconsistencies are due to perspective and the uneven terrain of the moon. Just as objects on Earth can cast shadows of varying lengths and directions depending on the contours of the landscape, so too can objects on the moon. The human brain, accustomed to interpreting shadows on Earth, can be tricked by the unfamiliar lunar environment. A cosmic conundrum, one of the more perplexing questions raised by moon landing skeptics, concerns the absence of stars in the photographs taken on the lunar surface. If the moon has no atmosphere to obscure the view, they argue, the sky should be teeming with stars, even during the lunar day. Why then are the skies in the Apollo 11 photos eerily devoid of celestial bodies?
This apparent discrepancy has a simple explanation. Exposure. The lunar surface, bathed in sunlight, is incredibly bright. To capture clear images of the astronauts and the lunar landscape, the cameras used by the Apollo 11 crew were set to a fast exposure which would have rendered the faint light of distant stars invisible. It's the same reason why we can't see stars in photographs taken at night in brightly lit cities.
Section 6, the Van Allen Belt and Impenetrable Barrier. The Van Allen radiation belts, two donut-shaped rings of charged particles that surround Earth, pose a significant challenge to space travel.
Moon landing deniers argue that the astronauts could not have survived the intense radiation levels within these belts, let alone made a round trip without suffering severe radiation sickness or even death.
While it's true that the Van Allen belts pose a radiation hazard, the Apollo missions were designed to minimize the astronauts' exposure. The spacecraft traveled through the belts at high speed, reducing the amount of time spent within the most intense radiation zones. Furthermore, the astronauts were protected by the spacecraft's shielding and their spacesuits, which were lined with materials designed to absorb radiation.